Welcome to Fear and Fiction, where the stories are strange and the fear is real. What's going on, Fear and Fiction family? I got 3 New Year's stories tonight, all three verified, all three tragic. Now let's get into it. New Year's Day 2008, New Orleans, the Iberville Projects in Treme. I'm posting this because I still don't have a real explanation for what happened, and I want to know if anyone's experienced something like it. After Katrina, I was in Houston for a while. I moved back because my grandmother needed help. She was stubborn and refused to leave again. She lived in one of the Iberville buildings that was still standing, back when the city was already talking about tearing it all down. I was 26, working 2 jobs, trying to take care of her, and Iberville felt heavy back then. A lot of people didn't return after the storm. Buildings were rotting. Whole sections looked abandoned. On New Year's Eve, I went to a small get-together at a friend's place. Nothing crazy. I left around midnight and walked back through the complex. It was cold for New Orleans, quiet. Most people were celebrating inside. That's when I saw a warm, yellow light in a building that was supposed to be empty. Not the high rises, one of the mid-rise buildings, maybe 6 or 7 floors. The light looked like it was coming from the 5th or 6th level, like someone had lamps on. Then I heard music, old 80s soul, and voices too, people talking like a small party. My first thought was squatters, because that happens sometimes. But the thing that bothered me was the light. It looked normal, domestic, like a real apartment being lived in, and I couldn't understand how anyone had power in that building, because that section had been cleared out months earlier. I knew that for a fact. I helped my grandmother's friend move out of that building in the fall. Mold, water damage, structural issues. It was supposed to be off limits. I stood there watching for a few minutes. The light flickered like someone walked past it. The music and voices kept going. I pulled my phone out and thought about calling someone, not to get anybody in trouble, but because that building wasn't safe. Then, right before I hit call, the light cut off. Not dimmed, not faded, just gone. And the music stopped. And the voices stopped. Total silence. I walked closer and went to the entrance. The front door was chained and padlocked with official-looking locks. The ground floor windows were boarded up, plywood screwed in tight. I didn't see any obvious way someone could have gotten in. I went home and told my grandmother. She didn't act shocked. She gave me this look like she already knew. She told me, stay away from those empty buildings at night, especially around the holidays. I asked why, and she said people had been seeing lights in empty Iberville units for years, even before Katrina. Around New Year's, people would swear they saw lights and heard music coming from apartments they knew were vacant. The next day, I couldn't let it go. I went back in daylight. The front was still locked, but a side door had been pried open, probably by salvagers or copper thieves weeks earlier. I went inside. The building was wrecked. Water damage, mold, graffiti. The elevator was dead, so I took the stairs. I found the unit I believed the light came from. The door was hanging off the hinges. Inside was gutted. No power, no wiring, no outlets. Like somebody stripped the place down to bones. No lamps, no fixtures, no generator, nothing. There was no way that apartment should have been able to glow like it did. But in the middle of the main room, I saw a spot on the floor that looked different. Less debris, like it had been cleared. In that spot were religious candles in glass, fresh flowers, and a small framed photo sitting face down. I picked up the photo. It was a family, mother, father, 2 kids, smiling in that same apartment years earlier with New Year's decorations behind them. On the back it said, New Year's 1987, Iberville. I put it down and left. Later I asked around. An older man told me the story. He said on New Year's Eve 1987, there was a fire in that unit. An electrical fire from overloaded outlets, space heaters, Christmas lights, too much power. The father died. One of the kids died. The mother and the other child survived, but they moved away and never came back. Then he told me something I can't shake. He said every few years, around New Year's, people report the same thing in that unit. Warm light, old music, voices like a celebration. But when anyone checks, it's always empty. He said people leave candles and flowers there sometimes, out of respect, like offerings, like remembrance. I never went back into that building. Years later, they demolished Iberville. That building came down in 2014. I watched it happen and wondered if that would finally end it. But recently, I spoke to someone who lives in the new apartments built on that same land. She told me last New Year's, she heard her upstairs neighbor having a party, music, voices, celebration sounds, for hours. The next day she mentioned it. The neighbor looked confused and said she wasn't even home for New Year's. She was out of town. Her apartment was empty. When I heard the address, I looked it up. That building sits on the exact footprint where the old mid-rise stood, where that family died in 1987. So I don't know what I saw that night in 2008. I've tried to explain it away. Sound carrying weird, reflected light, me being tired. But I was standing right there. I heard the music. I heard the voices. I saw the warm light in that window. And the next day, that unit had no power at all. No wiring, no way to run a lamp. And I'm not the only one who's reported it. People in Iberville talked about it for years. Warm light, old music, celebration sounds, like a moment replaying itself. I don't go looking for answers anymore. If I ever see a light where there shouldn't be one, I keep walking. Some celebrations are meant to be private, even if they're only memories. I need to tell you what happened to me 6 days ago. January 1st, 2026, around 5:30 in the morning in Chicago's Austin neighborhood. I'm still trying to process it. I live, or lived, I guess, in a 15-unit apartment building on West Adams Street, right near South Waller Avenue, South Austin. If you know Chicago, you know the area. Working class neighborhood, mix of families, older residents, young people. My building was nothing special. 3 floors, brick, built probably in the 60s or 70s. But it was home. New Year's Eve, I stayed in. Didn't feel like going out, didn't feel like dealing with crowds or noise. I watched the ball drop on TV, sent some texts to friends and family, went to bed around 1 a.m. Normal night. I woke up to screaming. At first I thought I was dreaming. But the sound got louder. Someone yelling,
"Fire! Fire! Get out!"
over and over. Then I smelled it, smoke. That distinct chemical smell of things burning that shouldn't be burning. I jumped out of bed and opened my apartment door. The hallway was filling with smoke. Not thick yet, but enough that I could see it rolling across the ceiling. Enough that I knew I needed to get out now. I grabbed my phone, my keys, threw on shoes, and ran for the stairs. Other people were doing the same. Doors opening, people in pajamas, someone carrying a kid, everyone coughing, everyone trying to get down and out. The smoke was coming from below. First floor looked like. As we got down the stairs, it got thicker, hotter. I could hear crackling sounds, see orange light flickering. We made it outside. About a dozen of us standing on the sidewalk in the cold. It was maybe 30 degrees, early January in Chicago, watching our building burn. The fire was spreading fast. First floor fully involved, flames visible through windows, smoke pouring out. Then someone started yelling, "They're still inside." I looked up and saw them. 3rd floor, 2 windows, people leaning out, coughing, yelling for help. A family. I could see adults and what looked like children. They couldn't get down because the stairwells were full of smoke. Someone had already called 911. We could hear sirens in the distance getting closer, but I'm standing there watching these people trapped on the 3rd floor, watching the smoke getting thicker and thinking, the fire department isn't going to get here in time. The smoke coming out of their windows was getting darker, more black than gray. The fire was spreading up from below. They had maybe minutes before their apartment filled with smoke and they couldn't breathe. Then I heard the engines. Chicago Fire Department rolling up, multiple trucks, firefighters jumping out, moving fast. They saw the people in the windows immediately and started setting up ladders. But here's what was terrifying. The fire was spreading faster than anyone expected. Flames were visible on the second floor now. The third floor, where those people were trapped, was starting to fill with smoke. The firefighters were yelling at them to stay low, stay by the windows, breathe the outside air. They got the ladder truck positioned, started extending the ladder up to the third floor windows, but it felt like it was taking forever. One of the windows, I could see a man holding a child, maybe 4 or 5 years old. The child was crying. The man was coughing so hard he could barely stand. Behind him, I could see more smoke pouring in from inside the apartment. The ladder finally reached them. A firefighter climbed up and took the child first, then went back for the man, then back for another child, then another person. 4 people total from that one window. The firefighters from the second window were doing the same thing. By the time everyone was down, the third floor was completely filled with smoke. Flames were visible breaking through the roof. If the fire department had been 5 minutes later, those people would be dead. Paramedics were working on them immediately. The children were unconscious, not breathing right. The adults were coughing up black stuff, couldn't talk. All 6 of them got loaded into ambulances and taken to the hospital. We later found out 4 of them were children, 2 were adults. 2 adults and 2 children were in critical condition. The fire department worked for hours to put the fire out. By the time the sun came up, the building was destroyed. First floor completely gutted, second floor heavily damaged, third floor full of smoke and water damage. They told us the building might not even be salvageable. The fire marshal ruled it accidental. Something on the first floor started it. They think maybe a space heater or something electrical. It spread fast because of how old the building was, how the fire moved through the walls and floors. 6 people were hospitalized. 4 of them were children, all because of an accidental fire on New Year's morning. I'm staying with family now. Everything I owned was in that apartment. Clothes, furniture, photos, everything. Some of us might be able to go back and salvage things, but a lot of it's gone. And I keep thinking about those people on the third floor, about how close they came to dying, about what would have happened if the fire department had been delayed, if the ladders hadn't reached, if the smoke had spread just a little bit faster. That's what happened on West Adams Street in Austin on New Year's Day 2026. That's the story. And that's why I don't take smoke detectors or fire safety for granted anymore. Man, I don't really talk about this much, but I was there when that Sky Market shooting happened. You know, the one on International Boulevard early New Year's. 3 people died right in front of me, and I still think about it sometimes. Let me tell you what really went down that night, because the news didn't capture half of what we saw in there. So Sky Market on the 8400 block of International. If you from Oakland, you know the spot. That's where everybody ends up at 3 in the morning. Need cigarettes, beer, snacks, whatever. That's the place. Bright lights, cameras, always got people coming through. I've been going there for years. This was January 4th, technically morning, around 2:50 a.m. I was out celebrating New Year's, still with some folks from the neighborhood. Nothing crazy, just enjoying ourselves. And yo, everybody was actually in a good mood that year because Oakland had just finished 2025 with like 57 murders. Lowest since the 60s or something. People were feeling hopeful for once, like maybe shit was changing. I pulled up just to grab some water, walked in, and there was maybe 12, 13 people inside. One of them was this older cat named Miguel. Didn't know him personally, but I'd seen him around. He was just shopping like everybody else. So I walk in, and it's the regular late night crowd. Couple dudes getting beer, somebody at the ATM, a few people just standing around talking. Miguel was over by the coolers getting something to drink. 2 younger guys, probably 19, 22 maybe, they were up near the register. Everything seemed normal. I grab my water and I'm heading to pay when one of the young dudes starts getting loud with somebody. Couldn't really tell what it was about. Something about disrespect, somebody looking at him wrong, typical bullshit. Most of us just trying to mind our business. I'm thinking they're gonna argue it out and we can all go home, but nah. Somebody pushed somebody. Then they really started fighting. Bodies crashing into the chip rack, shit flying everywhere. The store owner looked scared as hell, reaching for his phone. Miguel tried to back up toward the door. A few of us moved to the walls, trying to stay out the way. I remember thinking it's just a fight. Cops probably coming, let them get it out their system, and we can bounce. Then somebody pulled out a gun, and everything changed. I still don't know who pulled it. Everything happened too fast. 1 second they swinging, next second, boom. First shot was so loud in that small space, my ears started ringing instantly. People started screaming, dropping to the floor, scrambling for the door. 3 more shots after that, 4 total. Those sounds still stick with me. The 2 younger dudes went down first, just dropped right there between the candy aisle and the register. One of them wasn't moving at all. The other one was making these awful sounds, gasping, reaching out. Miguel tried to run for the door. He made it maybe 5 feet before he got hit. Just grabbed his chest and went down hard. I froze up completely, couldn't move. All around me, people were panicking, crawling over each other trying to get out. The shooter, whoever it was, disappeared in the chaos. Probably ran out the back or slipped out with everybody else. I wasn't paying attention to nothing but those 3 men bleeding on the floor. The store owner was screaming into the phone. 8,433 international, 3 people shot. Just kept repeating the address over and over. The shot spotter system must have picked it up because police got there quick. 2, 3 minutes maybe. Rolled up heavy. Paramedics rushed in and started working on them right there while cops secured everything and started separating witnesses. The 2 young guys, they died right there. Paramedics tried everything, CPR, chest compressions, all that. Nothing worked. Miguel, they got on a stretcher and rushed out. I remember watching that ambulance leave thinking maybe he'd make it. He died at the hospital later that morning. All 3 of them gone. Over what? An argument? They kept us there for hours taking statements, asking for descriptions over and over, but most of us couldn't give them much. Happened too fast, too chaotic. They said the cameras caught something, but far as I know, nobody's been arrested yet. What really got to me was finding out about Miguel afterwards. His family posted a GoFundMe and everything. Dude was 54 years old, had kids and grandkids, lived right around the corner from that store, used to go there all the time. His family said he was a great dad who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here's the messed up part though. Oakland had just ended 2025 with only 57 homicides, lowest number since 1967. We were actually celebrating that, thinking maybe things were turning around. Then in the first 4 days of 2026, 5 people got killed. This shooting was 3 of them. All that progress just felt like it disappeared overnight. I don't go to Sky Market anymore. Can't bring myself to walk in there. I drive past sometimes, and those bright lights that used to feel normal now just remind me of that night. International Boulevard hits different now. I think about Miguel's grandkids sometimes, about those 2 young cats who never made it past their early 20s, families planning funerals during what should have been a celebration. We really thought 2026 was going to be different, you know? Thought we left all that behind in 2025. The police still want information. You can call Oakland Homicide at 5102-383821 if you know something. But most of us who were there, we just trying to move on. Trying not to think about what we saw. Trying to go back to our regular lives. Miguel wasn't involved in nothing. Just a regular dude getting something from the store. And those 2 young guys, whatever they were arguing about, it damn sure wasn't worth dying over. That's what happened at Sky Market early New Year's. That's the story nobody really wants to tell, but somebody needs to remember. If you're in Oakland, if you know that area, just be careful out there. Crime might be down overall, but all it takes is one argument, one gun, a few seconds, and everything changes forever. That's what I saw. That's what I'll probably never forget. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching. Please get down in them comments and tell me what your favorite story was. Please like and share, and thank you again for watching.